Diabetes part one. You know, I done had diabetes now for probably, well, I ain't never had it. Because when I was handicapped, I asked the doctor, can I get metformin? And he said, you sure, son? I said, yeah, because the research says it's the fountain of youth. And now I'm getting old. It might slow down my aging. He said, are you sure? Show it to me. And I showed it to him. He said, well, the Mayo Clinic don't lie. So he gave me the metformin. But my body rejected it, with diarrhea. My body rejected it. But that's how it all started. And let me tell everybody, don't never do that long as you live. Because they tag you. After that, everywhere I went, oh, we see you got diabetes. Oh, we see you. No. I asked for that, but I don't even take them no more. I'd have been to 2 hospitals. The nurses say, you don't have diabetes. I said, I know. I say the reason the numbers is high, and the number was like 1 or 1 or 110. I say every lunch they give me red velvet cake, and it ain't sugar free. And I say, why do they check your sugar while you're eating? Don't they supposed to wait 2 hours? The nurses go to laugh. Listen. So they do it to get a false precedent, to give you a higher number, to tag you. For when they take your kid and all the liver out or cut your body parts out, they can say, hey, he got diabetes. Like the nurses say, we don't understand why they're making us give you a shot. Your sugar was 101. And they checked it while you were eating. I said, I know. But now enough of that. I'm showing you the trick they do to give you false high numbers. Especially when you go to hospital, you got to watch that. And the nursing home. Because I went to one nursing home, a rehab, they would give me gingerbread cookies with every meal. And even 10 o'clock at night, they'll give me 3 gingerbread cookies, right? And I'm like, hope these sugar free. Hope these gingerbread cookies sugar free because they good as hell. The lady come around and check my sugar. And it was 120 something. And she said, I hate to say, but I'm going to have to give you a shot. I said, for 120? She said, yeah. I said, well, I'm trying to think of why my sugar is 120. Which for me, that was good because growing up, when my sugar was 200, I was happy. I accepted 200 and I was healthy on it, So the nurse say, stop eating them gingerbread cookies. Say, when they give them to you, throw them away. That was doing it. She said, they full of sugar. So I started eating the gingerbread cookie and my reading come back, 101, 102, 103. But you got to watch them now. But the last time I went to the doctor, the day before yesterday, the lady gave me an A1C test for 6 weeks. I seen the scam right then. Cause A1 test, A1C, you get an accurate reading 3 months. I've been doing this since the 80s. That's what these people mix up. You change doctor every year with the new little thing they got. Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare. You change doctor every year, just about. These people act like you never been in a doctor office before. They think you clueless to everything. So when she went to saying, Well, your A1C ain't changed much in 6 weeks. I'm gonna have to prescribe you this or that. I said, wait a minute. You ain't got to prescribe me nothing. I said, what is 6 weeks for A1C? That's still part of the all reading what you did 3 weeks ago, man. A1C is the accumulation of 3 months of lifestyle. How can that 3 months change in 6 weeks? She said, man, you gonna have a heart attack, you gonna have a stroke. Oh, your kidney and liver gonna be gone. Oh, your kidney and liver, I ran for you dialysis. I said, miss, didn't you say 3 weeks ago my kidney and liver were 100? They were good. She said, oh, I gotta go check. I said, you ain't gotta go check, miss, because you already did it. You say everything was fine. I said, but before you did it, you were hollering liver and kidney. I said, do you know what that do to somebody with anxiety? She said, you gonna croak, you gonna croak. I said, well, let me croak. Let me croak. Because I ain't croaked since I was 18 and now I'm 62. I need to croak. Right? But the reason I was scared, remind you, she gave me 6 weeks before I take the blood test, from the lab blood test. 6 weeks, not 90 days, 6 weeks. Which I never heard of it. Maybe other people done heard of it. But if it's true and legit, guess who got shitted? The patient. Because now you're on medication and they didn't give you a chance to do lifestyle change, to drop your sugar down. And the same thing go with blood pressure. You just don't put nobody on blood pressure pill. You tell them, let's take 2 weeks, reduce the salt and sodium in your diet. Come back in 2 weeks and let's see what we got. That's how you do it. That's the proper way. Really, it's the only way. Anything else is fraudulent. You know, I go to the doctor and my blood pressure a little high. He said, I'm gonna write you a prescription. And my blood pressure, like, let's say 140/90. No, don't give me no prescription. Because that used to be legit for people who were 25 and over. Trump made it high blood pressure when he came into office the first term. But they used to couldn't give you blood pressure pill on 140/90 if you were 25 or older. Because the doctor put me on blood pressure pill, but I almost died. I had to go to a medical center. And they asked me, what your blood pressure was when they put you on blood pressure pill? I said, 140/90. They say, whoa. Son, cut them blood pressure pill up in 4 pieces. Take 2 pieces a day for 1 week. The next week, take 1 piece a day. Because they got no business putting you on blood pressure pill for 140/90. That legit for your age. You 30-year-old. Right? Did it, and I was well again. So that's how I know about that. But anyway, when she was talking about my A1C didn't change in 6 weeks, and she do her own blood testing. She got a lab right there in her office. I wasn't worried. My cousin said, you ain't worried? No. Because in them 6 weeks, cousin, I ate 0 sugar, 0 rice, 0 tater chip, a couple of French fries, 0 pasta. And I felt like a 19-year-old. So I know she had to been lying, or my anxiety hiked in the numbers. Cause anxiety, my anxiety, I don't know about anybody else, will up my blood pressure and my sugar reading and other vitals every time. I had a pharmacy tell me that because my brother died, and my sugar was 600. And I went to the pharmacy, Appleton Pharmacy. And he said, "What you eat today on the average?" I said, "I drank a 6-pack of 7-Up a day." He said, "What you eat?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Oh my God, you know that is pure sugar." You say, "If I were you, I wouldn't go to the doctor because they're going to put you on insulin or some kind of medication." He said, "I were you, don't eat nothing white." But he said, "You ain't eating anyway." But he said, "Stay away from everything white. And try to eat, but don't drink no soda, nothing with sugar in it." You know? And he was right. Because in 3 days my sugar was down to 200. And then before the week out, it was back to normal. So don't get fooled by these people. You know what I mean? But I know my sugar went high, and I know 6 weeks wasn't enough time for A1C to change. But these are the tricks they use. In part two, going to tell you how I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people get put on diabetic medication without given an opportunity. Thank you, and God bless.